And we're going to continue now to talk about living in a global society and gaining diverse perspectives and how that comes into play with doing good and doing well. Marlon Kimpson, you're dealing with a lot right now. You have 2 full-time jobs, one as an attorney and one as a state senator in Charleston, South Carolina. Of course, you've got the, I don't think it's the issue of the day, but it's more than the issue of the day in North Charleston, in your district. How are you handling diverse groups of people with diverse perspectives chiming in about these very sensitive issues, and how are you handling that? And perhaps you can give your perspective on what it means to live in a global society and what it means to gain these diverse perspectives in order to do your jobs well.
Thanks for the question. You know, on last evening and over the last series of days, this nation has witnessed a horrific incident in my Senate district, North Charleston. When I viewed the videotape last night of the stop, Mr. Scott was stopped for simply having the middle brake light not working. And so I posed the question to a number of police officers: how often do you stop someone for a middle brake light not working? And out of the 5 people I asked, only one of them said that he had stopped someone for a middle brake light not working, which leads me to the question, why was Mr. Scott stopped at all? Now, I can't answer that question, and the investigation is still going on, but I'm interested in that. Now, I suspect that race in America has something to do with the way we conduct stops. And so the issue of race in America is definitely alive and well. And we as a nation have to come to grips with the facts. Video cameras don't lie. As a state legislator, I have authored a body camera bill. The body camera bill didn't just get offered because of this incident. I actually filed the bill in December because of a similar shooting last year in Charleston, where an unarmed African-American male was pulled over and shot simply because he wasn't wearing his seatbelt. He got out of the car, obeyed the officer's commands, and when he reached in his pocket, the officer felt an apprehension of immediately bodily threat or serious harm, but he was attempting to comply. And so you have to ask yourself the question, had that gentleman, Mr. LeVar Jones, been a different color, would he have been stopped? And so I am these people's representative. Fortunately, I'm a lawyer. I believe in the justice system. I believe in the Constitution. But I am in a position to make the law. And on next Wednesday, we will have a hearing. And I am very serious about getting body cameras implemented mandated by state law. Because if you look at the evidence, which we should be concerned about evidence, but for the bystander's video camera, Mr. Slager would probably not be in jail today. That's not to say he wouldn't ultimately been in jail, because I do think forensics would have fleshed out the fact that it was a totally unnecessary shooting. But we have to follow through and put systems in place for transparency, accountability, and most importantly, training. And so I didn't get to the Senate. This was my first election. This is, quite frankly, my second legislative year. I was elected at the end of 2013. But in life, everybody, and particularly the students who are in this audience, you have to answer a calling. I was a lawyer doing international work. Some lawyers chase ambulance. I chase airplane crashes. And so I would fly around the world when there was a horrific accident on an airplane. Because the question there is, it's not the fault or negligence of the passenger. And so there's always liability on behalf of the airlines or the component manufacturer that may have malfunctioned. But the question on an airplane crash is the damages and how much insurance the airlines and the component part manufacturers have. And so that's an interesting way to segment to global, coming from the domestic side to the global side. But you young, I think it was said best when we first started by the young lady, can't remember her name, but you have an opportunity to be great. Morehouse College was my first exposure to that concept, because I was always a standout in high school, and I think I would have just gotten by, but for my experience at Morehouse, it was not acceptable to be number 3 or number 4. We were indoctrinated to the philosophy that you should be number 1 and no excuse. And so I challenge you, whatever it is that you do, be the best, and don't rest until you can be at the top.